Hi, this is Gary Schultz from Cyclone Custom Corporation. Today we're going to install a new product that we just came out with for the 2008 through 2013 Road King. This is a 2012 you see in front of me here today. We're going to go ahead and put it on and give the rider the ability to hear his music and use his GPS system that's already on his cell phone. He has a Samsung Galaxy 3 which fits just fine, as does just about every other phone on the market today. So we appreciate your watching. Alright, the first thing you need to do is remove the seat bolt. I loosened it already, and take the strap off. There's just a bolt on the side. And the seat has a clip in the front. Just rock it back, and the seat comes off. And then down underneath here is a screw that's going to have to come out of the console. And then up in front here, you can get a shot of that. There's another Allen head screw that comes out, and the console will lift up. Okay, so once you've got the screws out, I would protect your gas tank with a towel here. And just flip the console up and slide it onto that towel. You see a lot of wires here, but not to worry. Just bend the clips up, and you'll be able to release these tabs on the side and pull them out. You just remove the clip from the ignition switch, or the little help from a flat blade screwdriver, and that should just come right out of there. And there's one cable tie that needs to be clipped and removed. And your speedometer reset is just unscrews. It's pretty easy. Just a little plastic switch. Pop that out. These rubber pieces you can put back on later. And then just unplug the speedometer. Okay, we're working on the bench now, and we need to remove the ignition switch and the turn signal and trouble light housing. And I'll show you an easy way to get this housing off. There's just some metal clips on this side. You just take a needle nose pliers and squeeze those clips. There's some here. And get it past the spot there. And it pops right out. And then the housing for that can also be removed, because that'll no longer be needed. The ignition switch is just for torque screws. So just go ahead and remove those screws holding the ignition switch in. Okay, so the kit includes a nice template, which is really a picture of the actual console we just pulled off the bike. And in that template, I'm going to put my glasses on, there's a dotted line that shows where to cut that out. So we're going to go ahead and cut that out. Okay, so I got the template cut out, and you can see it matches up here perfectly. So we're going to go ahead and center this template up in the hole here, and make sure that our old ignition switch hole lines up with the template perfectly. And then we're going to go ahead and tape it down. And then we're going to go ahead and center punch 4 holes here. And then our new ignition switch hole. And then just take the tape off here and check, and it looks like we got some nice holes, so we're ready to drill. Okay, so I've removed the brushed aluminum decal that Harley puts on, and I'm just going to use some mineral spirits and get the leftover residue from the glue off the face of the chrome here. Okay, I have the 4 holes drilled. I've removed the adhesive. It's pretty important to get the adhesive off because if you don't, all of your little drill chips are going to stick to that stuff, and then it's hard to get the drill chips off without scratching the chrome. So I would get the adhesive off first, and we're going to go ahead and drill our last hole. I'm using a trailer wheel chock here to hold this thing. And there we go. Okay, so we've gone ahead and drilled our 2 big holes here, and we're going to connect them. This is pretty simple. This stuff cuts like butter. It's just aluminum. I'm using a jigsaw here, but you can use Sawzall or a number of ways. So those are connected now, and it's very important to file off all the burrs off those edges so they're nice and rounded. So I've got the trusty mill bastard here, and we're going to go ahead and get rid of all the burrs. And now we're ready to mount our part on here. Okay, I've gone ahead and disconnected the battery negative terminal, and just to make sure that doesn't come back and touch the terminal, I've just put a piece of heat shrink underneath it so it can't get to the negative pole on the battery. The reason for this is we're going to do some work on the ignition switch now, and we don't want that to connect. You can use any non-conductive material. You don't need to use heat shrink, but I would suggest making sure that that's never going to touch again. So here's our ignition switch. We removed it earlier from the original console, and we're going to go ahead and we want to reuse this connector. So what we're going to do is go ahead and clip those cables off of there. Pigtail on the connector there, so we can reuse that. Okay, so we're going to extend the cables for the ignition switch, and I've crimped most of them on here already. I'm just going to go ahead and crimp the last one in place. Strip off about 1/4 inch of the insulation from the supplied wires in the kit. It's always a good idea to use a little heat shrink tubing or tape to just seal up that connection. And we're going to use heat shrink tubing here. Tape works fine too, but the heat shrink sure gives it a clean looking installation. I think I missed one here. So again, you want to strip back about 1/4 inch of insulation here. And we'll go ahead and shrink those down. You can see we've got a nice solid watertight seal on these. Okay, so I've gone ahead and I've put the hinge screws in. I've installed the seal around the outside edge here. It's an O-ring gasket in the kit, and then you peel the backing off of this gasket, and I've placed it onto the cover. I've also installed our Harley lock kit. This is a push button style, so pushing in on it makes the pawl go in and out. Also, you can lock it with your key. Those are available on our website. This mat is just a peel and stick, and I've got that fastened down on the inside here. On the back side of the console, I've gone ahead and assembled our other O-ring seal and pressed it into the channel all the way around. And my seam is down here at the bottom, nice and tight. One little trick to putting these O-rings in that I found is if you are having trouble getting it to stick in the corners, you know, stretching it can sometimes make it want to pull out of the corners. What I sometimes do is just little tiny driplets of super glue in there, and that'll help hold that in place while you're trying to work. It also comes in handy for these gaskets on the back side of the factory console that keep falling off when you're trying to work on it here. A little bit of super glue down inside the channel there and put it on there, and it's not going anywhere, at least while you're working on it. So I've also taken, remember we removed this from the Harley console from this area here. It fit up in behind there. And I've gone ahead and removed that, and then we're going to go ahead and use the connector with our console here. So I've clipped that off and then just match up the wires. Here we used barrel connectors to connect this together. You can solder them and heat shrink them if you like. And so our connector for the indicator lamps is on there. And then this ignition switch just bolts in here very nicely. 4 screws, just like it was in the Harley part. And we'll go ahead and screw that down. If you're having trouble getting a screw to thread, rather than force it, cross thread it, go backwards on it a turn and a half and you'll feel it click, and then go forward again, and it just gets the thread straightened back out again for you. Okay, I've put the little piece of plastic sleeving that you saw me take off the bike when I clipped the cable. I had slid that back over the top to give it some extra insulation, because we're going to run it around the corner and back out to the ignition cables. This is done. And then one other thing I want to show you is, you know, these lock kits that you purchase from Harley, sometimes these pawls can have little burrs on them. I do go ahead and file those off so it works nice and smoothly. And then you want to make sure that you're not seeing light when you're looking through this edge here, because, you know, rain can leak. So what you do is, on the back side there's a little screw in there that you can back out and get that nice and tight, so that the seal is completely tight right there. Now that's a little bit too tight. It's something you probably need to play with a little bit, and just make sure that you got a nice seal around that edge so that water can't leak in and get anything wet. Also, this particular customer has a it's a Samsung Galaxy phone, and so we're going to go ahead and route this mini USB cable up into there. It's a right angle plug, so it's kind of nice, doesn't take up much space. Those are also available on our website, and so we'll just go ahead and run that in there. And I'm going to make sure on the front side that there's enough slack to be able to grab it and plug the phone in and get it down in there. So you know, I would leave enough slack to accommodate that, and then just tuck that right into this nice cable channel here. Use this Allen tool to actually press it. Put it on the console that we pulled off the bike earlier, and so all the cables are going to route right through your old ignition hole. And so get the here's our UHB cable and our ignition switch cables and our indicator lights. Okay, so we're just going to go ahead and screw this down. I've got these 4 screws in here lightly, and I'm just kind of turn it over and make sure that we've got it centered the way that we want it, and we can just tighten those screws down the rest of the way. And Looks like everything works fine. That flips up. We're good. Alright, we took the side cover off here, took the saddlebag off. We're going to go ahead and put the USB port on. I'm going to mount it right here and just clean off that surface with a little lacquer thinner. Make sure it's nice and clean. Here's your USB jack. And we can just plug our cable in. Comes with some really great high bond adhesive. Mount it in here facing down. And the reason for that is, so if any water seeps underneath that cover, it's not going to drain into your cable. Route that cable up and hook up the positive and negative to your battery with the ring terminals that we include in the kit. And this is got a fuse right inside here, and make sure the fuse is in there or nothing's going to work. And so just, which this one doesn't, and just route it up underneath here. Pull the plus and minus. There's a couple of screws where you can put extra ring terminals already on the battery. So just route that in there, and then route this USB cable. We're going to route it up in through here and right up into the console. Okay, we got our console installed and the bike's back together, and took us a couple hours. You know, if you're capable of removing the seat, you know how the side covers and the saddlebags come off, and it's not too much of a stretch to be able to install this. I would say pretty much anybody can do it. Takes a little bit of skill, but it's not bad at all. The ignition switch works here now. We've got our turn signal LEDs up here, and those are all working. Our high beam light is working fine. You can see the oil light came on when I turned the ignition on, and the console is on there and ready for the customer's phone, which I've already pre-tested, but he's not here right now. But you know, thanks for watching. Cyclone Custom Corporation, www.cyclonecustom.com. Thanks for watching.